Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the PlotCast. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and today we're going to be breaking down the Fantastic Four first steps. So this will be the first steps for all of us. Here we go.
Just so everybody knows ahead of time, spoilers. We're going to be talking everything that we want to talk about this. No holds barred. We're going to give our review. We're going to just spoil it all for you. So anyway, Chris.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to kind of start off with what my first impressions is. Obviously, we've had Fantastic Four before, multiple iterations, but this is the first Fantastic Four's appearance in the MCU. Well, not the first. Obviously, we had Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness, played by John Krasinski, which was fantastic.
Yes, Mr. Fantastic.
But not four. Yeah. But yeah, obviously new cast, new story, new universe. So let's break it down, see how it fits into the MCU. I think what we should do here is start with our individual rating, and maybe at the end see if that evolves or not.
Okay.
So with my first impression, I initially gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so and a little background before we go too much, more in depth with this. As people, Chris is a lot more hard on his ratings. We'll say I'm a little bit more generous. So when he told me an 8 for this movie, he blew me away. I was like, wait, what? Okay, and so now this is where you're gonna see something a little bit different. My initial rating for this is a 6, which is completely weird going off of what I just said, because Chris is usually the one who's a lot harder on movies, but it's like the reverse this time. But then again, I went into this movie, just a little background, that I just saw Superman the week before, and to me, I thought Superman was the better movie, but
I still agree that Superman is the better movie.
But I think that kind of made my decision on what I was rating this a little bit more harsh. So like you said, Chris, by the end of this, we're gonna say our final score on this movie. So I will say, after like Chris and I talked before this video about that isn't my final number. So
all right.
Anyway, so as of right now, you guys know his is a 8, mine is a 6. Okay.
Yeah, so let's just take it from the top. Obviously, first impressions, most people watch the trailers before going into it. The first thing that you see is the cast. The cast, honestly, I think they were spot on. I think there's perfect chemistry between them. Vanessa and Joseph Quinn have the connection as brother and sister. They have that slight annoyance towards each other.
Yeah.
The playful banter. Pedro Pascal, I mean, he's a great actor. Everyone's seen him in everything. Lately. Yeah. From Mandalorian, obviously he was going to be appearing in the MCU eventually. When you hit the Star Wars franchise, you're going to be hitting the MCU eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pedro Pascal is a great actor. There's no doubt about that. And then we've got Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm. Obviously, there's not too many scenes of him as a person. So as far as physical acting, it's a little different. But as far as, Ben, I'm not sure if you agree with me or not. I feel like Ben was I think they might have been more cut scenes of Ben than anyone else. He felt like the odd one out.
Yeah, he did.
Because everyone had an arc, right? Sue Storm has the whole birthing. Like, she's the most central part of the four. Pedro Pascal, obviously, he's the brains. He's got his own arc going on, trying to solve all the problems of the world. Um, Joseph Quinn's Human Torch, he has the breaking down the language barrier, and that's kind of his arc throughout the major story. But then Ben is, I mean, he has that slight depression that everyone sees in him all the time because of his physical appearance. They don't go heavy into it. I mean, they have that slight side thing that he has going on,
like the relationship type thing.
Yeah, exactly. With Natasha Lyonne, but I feel like that was cut. I
Yeah,
feel like
same here.
because she was rarely used. Like
Yeah,
when he goes to visit her in the synagogue towards the end, I feel like because she just smiles and then it cuts, and I feel like there was so much more there that they just decided, nah. Maybe it took away from the story or something, but I feel like Ben's, as far as the Fantastic Four is concerned, the four main actors, I feel like he had the least to do in the movie.
I agree. I mean, he was the Brawn. He was they kind of also made him a little bit of the comic relief, but that was kind of like mainly between him and Johnny. They were like the comic reliefs with each other,
Which has always been a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I will say they did do a good job of making sure each person kind of got their moment in the sun, and everybody seemed like they had an integral part to do with getting things done throughout the main plot. But I do feel like Ben Grimm, as just like character development, had the least.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the whole relationship thing, they probably put that on the back burner just to forward the story a lot quicker, because as we know, they cut John Malkovich's character completely out of the movie. So I wonder if he had more to do with that. I'm assuming maybe he had something to do with maybe before they ended up going into space to go see Galactus, and they probably just said, let's just contain this a little bit more and just keep it on the Galactus train here.
Right. And speaking of Galactus, how do you feel about Ralph Ineson as Galactus?
Perfect.
I agree. His voice, obviously, he's a man with a voice.
Yeah.
You hear his voice and you're like, oh yeah, I know who that is. And he was perfect. Like, obviously, the first thing that you think of before you see anything, when you just think of the comics and the cartoon and you see Galactus, you're like, oh, how are they going to do this? Like, how are they going to pull it off where it makes sense and looks awesome? They did it. I feel they did it. Absolutely.
And on that note, let's talk about the Shalabal, the Silver Surfer in this movie.
Yes. I had no problem with it. I know a lot of people were doing the whole, oh no, they're just gender swapping. Although the original Silver Surfer only came out, 4 years before the female Silver Surfer was released in the comics. She's been out for a long time.
Yeah, and Shalabal's been integral for a little bit there, and I felt like they felt that we've already seen, Norn Rad Silver Surfer before on screen, and I think, especially with how this movie ends, they were just kind of like, we're gonna make her more or less a one and done character, so we'll bring in Norn Rad later on.
Yeah, I do think that's what they're kind of doing. Just so that people who haven't seen it, although there are spoilers in here, if you weren't aware, and just to make it clear, we do not see her die. That's definitely not something that happens, but there is a high possibility of her ending after this. Even if we get a scene or two that shows what happens to her, there's always a chance she doesn't return.
Yeah, with how this movie ends too, because the ending itself, I'm trying not to get too far ahead, but the ending itself of the movie doesn't really, like you told me before I even saw the movie, doesn't really do too much to further the Fantastic Four into,
the MCU.
The MCU, the main timeline MCU as of yet. So
Although there are some connections that
Yeah,
people have made.
yeah.
Um, and they are more aesthetic, and I want to touch on that because the aesthetic of this movie, you can see right from the trailers, is fun. It's different. It's like 1950s, 1960s theme, but it's also a little more futuristic. They have computers and technology.
Very much how the comic book kind of looked. They kind of look like that. What would you call that? Like, I'm gonna name it myself, like retro future.
Yeah, retro
Look.
future is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's retro for us, futuristic for the retro. Um, and it works really well. But one thing you'll notice is that the computers that they use in this world are the same computers used in the TVA.
I didn't even notice that. But
Yes,
yeah,
they
now that
are.
you're saying that, like that little
Yeah.
round computer, so the
Yep.
TVA is essentially stuck
Also,
in the
Nate,
1960s.
when we first saw Mr. Fantastic in the MCU, who was it played by? John Krasinski.
Oh, that one, yes. So yeah,
Yeah. And when we saw him, what was the first thing you saw when you saw him? He
I don't
teleports
remember.
in. He teleports in. How does he teleport?
Ah,
The
like
exact same teleportation
yeah,
device as the TVA.
that's right.
So there are rumors that he invents the TVA. He
TVA.
creates the TVA. Even though it is said that He Who Remains is the one who did it, He Who Remains is also a con.
Yeah,
He Who Remains might have lied. He might have taken over.
yeah. Well, he who remains also, to me, has always been like that character that he's more or less like the Wizard of Oz. That's how I
Yeah,
took
he's a
his character.
sham. He's a
Yeah.
sham with power.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing too. It's like where he was doing that whole little spiel about time or whatever, and he got there himself because originally, you know, I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen Loki, but I don't remember exactly how he got there. They explained it in season 2, correct?
Kind of. Yeah, it was Loki was involved. That again,
Yeah,
time is non-linear. In fact, time doesn't even exist in the
this.
TVA. So it's non-linear, and they are jumping in and out. So it could very well be when Loki pulled him in, when they get the inventor one,
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah.
second season. So
True.
I mean, it doesn't wrap itself around, you know, for him to be the one that remains, because obviously we see him die. He falls apart when trying to repair the timelines. Um, so there could be more. Again, it's non-linear, so they could explain it way later.
Yeah,
So we'll see exactly how it comes right. I mean, we still have yet to see how Loki. Loki's going to be working his way into Secret Wars.
well, here's another thing that's kind of funny now that you bring it up, because if you remember Loki, there was like the 3 judges and there was like 3 pillars, but there was one pillar destroyed. Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it could
Uh,
it could have been something that they planned from the beginning, and maybe not, but it worked out.
yeah,
So there's a lot of speculation.
yeah. It's still speculation.
Um, but at this point, they are putting the pieces together for us, and
Yeah.
those people who pay attention and noticed are the ones speculating, and the ones that don't notice get their friends to tell them.
Thank you.
But yeah, outside of that, we've kind of covered the cast here, the main cast. Let's get into the story and what happened, what we think will happen next, how we believe it will kind of fit into the MCU. So as far as the opening goes, they did not give us an origin story. I mean, we've seen it. Like,
Yeah.
we already know it. They did give us a brief. There was a TV show that starts up, the Ted Gilbert show, and they kind of set it up like, hey, we are celebrating the last 4 years of the Fantastic Four. And they kind of give us a brief overview. So for the
Yeah.
people who have never seen Fantastic Four, have no idea who they are, this is kind of a quick, hey, this is who they are and this is how they became to be.
Yeah, nice little
And
montage.
yeah, a little montage. Throwing in some of the villains they've defeated. They showed Mole Man, they showed the Space Monkey dude, and a couple of others, and just give us kind of like, hey, they've been doing this for a while, they've been successful, but the one thing you'll notice is that they are that Earth's only superheroes.
Yeah, kind of like how Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was the only basically hero in his timeline too.
Yes,
That we know of.
that we know of. I mean, we kind of got a worldwide glimpse in this movie, so we know for sure they're pretty much the only ones.
Yeah.
While we do know there are other super powered people, since they were villains, it was more of a, we are the only ones that kind of defend the planet as it is.
Yeah, very
Um,
contained.
yeah, it is very contained, which would lead you to believe that they are the what did the TVA call it when there's a specific anchor person? So
Yeah.
I think one of the four, likely Mr. Fantastic, is
The anchor
anchor
being
person, anchor being for this 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 timeline.
universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed how, despite the fact that it's the entire universe, it's always someone on Earth?
Yeah, why is Earth so important? I mean, yes, we have seen other things like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff, but it all leads back to Earth. I
It
wonder if
does
they
always lead back to Earth, and it's so funny too because whenever someone's like someone from outer space is attacking Earth, they always refer to it as nothing. It's just a small insignificant planet, and then they get stopped by Earth's mightiest heroes or something. But it's always Earth, and
Yep.
if the TVA did create was created by the Fantastic Four, then it would make sense why Earth is kind of the linchpin to the
If you
universe.
if you think about it, the Earth is the anchor planet for the MCU.
Well, for the MCU, yeah,
Yeah.
but for the universe, that's a little self-important, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. Who are we anyway? Earth? Come on.
Right. But yeah, so they give us this little montage, and then they what I like about this movie is that they kind of threw us right into it. I mean, we were about 20 minutes in maybe by
Yeah.
the time we saw Silver Surfer, and they didn't waste time. And while a lot of movies are like, hey, the big bad is coming, usually don't see him until a major battle at the end of the movie, and then they beat him and they move on. I like how we see Galactus not even halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And
And
and, and it's not just we see a glimpse of him. Yes, at first he's hidden in the shadows and it lights his eyes light up. First of all, that is an epic introduction.
yes.
Like he was sitting there the whole time watching them as they were talking about him, and then he lights up, and the the whole room starts to light up and cast over him. He's this giant, and not only was he a giant, he looked amazing.
Yes.
And
Really
but
good.
but you see him in more or less full structure. Every time you see him, they don't try to hide him. They went all out, at least as the villain. And you know what? He's probably one of the better villains when you think about it. Because what's a villain's motivation most of the time? I want conquer.
Power,
I want
money,
power. This.
you know.
He sounds like he wants to die.
Yeah. He just wants to get it over with. He's tired
Yeah,
of this.
he wants to
You
end
know.
the hunger. He wants to find someone to end his suffering.
Yeah,
How
he
awesome is that?
but the question is like when that happens, does he die or does he live out until he dies? That's the question.
As
But
a giant, as someone who could barely live on a planet because he's so big? I mean, could
I
he?
mean, he could in the comics he could adjust his size to whatever he needed to, I
Yeah.
believe.
I mean, we don't know how that works in this. He did say at one point he was their size, and
Yeah.
that he became. But, and again, he could just shrink because it sounds like the power itself, the curse as he refers to it, is the reason why he is so big.
Yeah.
What the curse is, or like a lot of it, they didn't get into details, and honestly, I respect that, and I like that, because that was the problem with the Force in Star Wars, right? Was you start getting into midichlorians, you start going, oh God, here we go.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's really showing us the movie that Galactus isn't really the most important thing. The most important thing is really Franklin Richards. Why, his powers. Why does Galactus automatically know that he's the one that he needs to take his place? Like in the comics, from what I understand, I think Franklin Richards becomes a nihilist. I don't know anything about a nihilist. I don't know what he does, but I'm assuming he's kind of like Galactus.
He becomes a god of destruction.
Okay.
He is destined to destroy the universe. Which we'll get into in a minute. That will be kind of the after the movie where we think they're going to take things.
Yeah.
But a little background for people on Franklin. Franklin is not born based on the very beginning of the movie. Again, when it comes to aesthetics, I just want to point out when Sue Storm shows up with the pregnancy test. That was pretty cool. A little, it's very similar to what we have, but it's also futuristic.
Yes, it doesn't look like one of
it's
these
the
little toys.
things. Like they don't have to explain anything. It's just a little piece of visual, technology that we can look at it. We know what it is. We know what its function is. But how cool is that? And you would assume it's super accurate. You would assume that it was made by Mr. Fantastic himself, even.
Yeah.
Or with his patents. And so, yeah, you see that and you go, oh, this is nice. So they are pregnant. And then they mention how they were trying for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They were pretty sure it was the space accident caused them to be somewhat infertile. And now they know they are. Mr. Fantastic's big concern comes in.
But
how does the radiation affect the baby?
Let me stop you for a second.
Yeah.
Because that could be something else, another theory that just popped in my head. Maybe Franklin isn't a product of both of them. Isn't their kid essentially. Maybe it's,
product of the cosmos.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
that is kind of the big thing. I mean, obviously, it was space radiation, as they referred to it, as space anomaly. But it is the cosmos itself that is injected into them, giving them their powers. Specifically, in this case, with them holding that power, yes, while the universe didn't make Sue Storm pregnant, it was, they finally got pregnant. The child is born of the cosmos at this point.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the comics and I didn't necessarily, a full disclaimer, I haven't really read those comics. I only know what I've read up on. But as far as I know, yes, the Franklin is a product of the cosmos. He is imbued with its power. And that is something that we learn right away, before the child is even born. Because when they do get the notification from the Herald of the Destroyer that he is to come and consume the planet, they freak out for a second and go, no, let's go talk to this Galactus. Which I like that violence wasn't their first answer. Yeah. The first answer was, let's go talk to this person.
So that's one thing I liked, because it reminded me more of like a Star Trek kind of move. Like, we want to explore every option before we go with nuclear option.
Yeah, exactly. Which actually finding Galactus, when they do show up, they get to witness firsthand his power.
Yeah.
They get to witness the destruction of a planet. They get to witness how he consumes the planet, which was again a great move on Disney's part for kind of because he's not just biting chunks out of a planet. I was wondering how he was going to devour said planets.
Yeah.
How it was gonna make it, because obviously if he was that big where he could just eat it like a sandwich, then how are we going to defeat him? It just brings a lot of logistical issues as far
Which
as the
is
MCU is concerned.
something I'm sure they thought of. Here's the other question: like, is this the same Galactus that's in every universe, like
Yeah,
818, 828?
in multiple universes, are there different ones? I would assume there are different ones. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think they said I think they've, as far as what they've confirmed, the only person that doesn't have multiples themselves is America Chavez.
Yeah, she's the only one.
Yeah. I mean, outside of those that have been killed off,
Yeah.
obviously, but they did exist at some point in some form. The only thing that kind of flaws that one is the different appearances, because then you're like, okay, so this Reed Richards looks like Pedro Pascal, clearly has a different heritage than John Krasinski. So you're like, okay,
Yeah.
so bloodlines change and stuff like that. I mean, it makes sense because each universe is based off of a change off of every little choice anyone has to make. So you would assume, that they wouldn't look exactly the same. But then wouldn't the change in complete history change who they are as a whole, or their power, or this, that, and the other, or even their name?
Yeah.
So it gets dicey. There's not too much logic you can really pull out of a explanation like that. But that being said, yes, that's and honestly, when it comes to the teleportation at the end, which we will dig deeper into in a minute, who's to say that just shoots him somewhere in that universe? It could be in a could move them to a completely different multiverse for all we know.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of like the other thing we got to talk about too, but I don't know if you want to go there yet. So
yeah, let's kind of work on pace here. So when they meet Galactus, he had scanned Sue Storm's stomach, as we saw in the ship. He is aware of the baby, and immediately he says, "I will spare your planet if you give me that child." He even goes up straight up, says, "This child seems to be the solution to my hunger. This child, born of the cosmos, will be born of the cosmos. This child will be how I rid myself of this curse." And so, right there and then, we are filled. Like, we have learned so much about Galactus in such a short scene. I think you get a total of maybe 20 minutes screen time, if that, 15 minutes screen time of Galactus, but you learn so much about him in such a short time. And you even see, he is very emotionless, but you can tell there's depth to him between the dialogue, the way things are set up, his communications with Shalabal.
and the same could be said about Shalabal too. We find out so much about her too.
Yeah.
And you kind of actually they humanize both so well because they both have, him with the hunger that he just wants to get rid of it. He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to be able to just be free of that. Technically, it's torment to him. And then for her, she sacrificed, her life to save her planet to go and, unfortunately destroy everybody else's planets. But she sacrificed basically her time with her family on her planet to try and save her planet.
Yeah. And so this is where the first kind of downfall, I think, of the movie comes. So actually, I take that back. First, let's talk about them traveling back. So them traveling back, they're escaping. They say no to Galactus, but he plans to take the child regardless. There's no stopping Galactus. And so they have a very intense chase scene where Shalabal is chasing them down, and they get to the ship. They go into hyperspeed, and even so, she's still able to follow. And she seems absolutely unstoppable. And then while they're going through all of this, Sue Storm is also going into labor.
Yes.
And it becomes extremely intense. She's going into labor. They then, Reed, obviously, Mr. Brains over there, comes up with the plan to use the black hole.
Yeah, gravity well.
And to trick her. They use Sue Storm's power of invisibility to cloak the entire ship while she's going into labor. And just for a short moment to trick her, have the faster than light machine thing that they use as an extension of the ship to break away and go into the black hole, so that Shalabal follows, and then gets caught in it when she realized she'd been duped, and they took off in a different direction. They said that they were going to trap her in there probably for about 9 months. Whether that actually occurred or not, we saw her struggling regardless to get out of it. But yes, then she goes into labor. We get to see the full process, and I liked. Obviously, out of the Fantastic Four, I don't want to say Mr. Fantastic is useless, because obviously he has so many abilities and use of it. But the brains are his real superpower.
Yeah.
But to see the practical uses of him stretching, where he pushes his arm out against the wall to hold Sue Storm down against the table because they're in zero gravity. It's just the small little details that he's using it practically, as on top of being able to make a hammer fist, stretch himself out into a parachute, or all these different things that he can do. Yeah, the gimmicks. At least he goes beyond that. Everyone had their role on the birth of Franklin. And it was very intense. I do like that, because when you look at birth scenes in movies, they're pretty standard. A woman goes into pain. Sometimes something can happen around them, but the woman is usually left untouched. And sometimes, depending on the type of show, is if it's Game of Thrones, it's going to be gory and the woman's going to die. But outside of that general movie setting is you're not going to see too much blood or whatever. It's just we want to leave the baby alone and stuff like that. But there was, I want to say, throughout almost the entire movie, as soon as Galactus wants that child, you fear for that child.
Yeah.
From start to finish. When we saw Shalabal almost grab them, she phases through Sue's body, damn near touches the child for a brief moment.
Yeah.
So from the moment the baby is born, you're wondering, is there evil behind it? Is there something's wrong from start to finish, and you don't want it to be harmed in any way, but then you're unsure of, it sounds like it's going to be a god of some kind.
Yeah.
Is it going to be an evil god? And so, there's a lot of emotions that are stirred from start to finish, especially if you're a parent. A parent watching it, I'm a parent of 3. And you not being a parent at all, that it gives you 2 perspectives on how this rolls out. And I'm not sure how you felt about every time the baby is seen in danger, but there's a pit in my stomach. Um, and it's a new dynamic for the MCU. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't see too much of it, and then when you do, they try not to make it a center because they never, as it being Disney, they never want to put a baby in danger. It just becomes kind of like a publicity thing.
Yeah.
They don't want people to think that they think it's okay to put children in danger.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, having superpowered parents helps.
Well,
Um,
that goes back to this whole thing. Like, they're really trying to show us that these aren't just superheroes; they are a real family, and this
yeah,
family in general is trying to protect the newest member of their family. You know?
family absolutely is the main theme of this
Yeah.
entire movie. And obviously three of them are family straight up, but Ben is Reed Richards'
Best
best
friend.
friend. They are essentially brothers, and then he becomes family. He becomes the godson or godfather of their son. They His middle name is even Benjamin. It's
Yeah.
Franklin Benjamin Reed Richards, and
Richards.
yeah, and it's just it really ties everyone together. The baby, I mean, um, Ben is the one holding the baby. He's the first person to hold the baby.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I,
it's
I I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to say I really like that moment because it was like kind of like probably what a parent would feel in that moment. I felt like they did
yeah. There
really
was all
well,
that buildup of danger,
and then
and then
like
the moment.
in that moment it was just silence. It was
Yeah,
like this is the moment we're having right now. It was like putting you in that moment. This new life is here. Everybody's just kind of like in awe of it, and especially with the situation they just went through. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was done really well. One thing I want to say about that though, like, kind of bothered me. They're like, "We're going faster than light." When they first said that, I was like, "Wait, so does that mean if they go faster than light and they come back, they're gonna come back like 100 years in the future?"
No, technically, going faster than light will put you in the past.
Interesting. Either way, the flaw was, I think, that I was gonna get with that is that they went through technically a wormhole. They didn't go faster than like they didn't go light speed, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there was a
Um,
warp of some kind, but the I mean the definition of speed throughout the entire MCU, because you've got space travel throughout it, especially during the whole end game process. So there's no clear definition.
But I mean, I guess that's the one thing that you can like. First of all, it's a comic book movie. Two, you know, it's a superhero comic book movie. And three, you know, regardless, it's a movie. You're not supposed to take it too seriously. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, if you were really worried about the science of light speed and just space travel in general, when Peter Quill returned at the end of the third movie, his grandfather wouldn't just not be alive. His grandfather would have, his great 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 grandkids would have been the ones dying in his
Yeah.
arms. It's yeah. So yeah, they've kind of turned off the whole time relation to space.
Yeah.
Uh, the only time travel involved is just solely around TVA,
Yeah.
and of course how they defeated Thanos.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's too many flaws around
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's the plot hole, right? The
Yep.
big plot hole. But no, yeah. I mean, obviously now we've got Franklin born, and they land. And I think the big flaw of this movie is when they return, they say exactly what Galactus wanted.
Yeah.
They tell them, "Oh no, he said that he would totally leave us alone if we gave him our baby." They
And
should have kept that quiet.
they should have, but I feel like yes, in the moment when they were saying that, I was thinking the exact same thing. But then again, I feel like, especially what we saw in the beginning, they've had such a connection with their planet over the past 4 years on how
The
they are
transparent.
accepted. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been very transparent, and they're first for their people. They're first for Earth.
I get that, but I also feel like that should have been a press release, not the moment they land.
Yeah, which could have been something that they
Because
were gonna
I mean,
do.
as new parents too, you want to take your baby away from that situation.
Yeah,
You don't want the baby to be around the hate that will inevitably follow.
which is why I'm sure that's why they put Sue kind of in the background there with the baby,
Yeah.
just to kind of have it away from that. But
Also, a nice detail I just want to point out is that when they return, they're in their suits except for Sue, who's in the
yeah,
different colored jumpsuit,
yeah,
which you would assume hers is probably a little dirty.
yeah,
But it's a nice detail to show that they are thinking about what they're doing, all the
yeah,
little details.
continuity.
Yeah, which is a nice change.
Well,
But
she
yeah,
did change her clothes.
yeah. But yes, so the design on all of their clothing, by the way, was awesome. It's got that flair of the time, but it's also nostalgic to people who read the comic books and stuff like that. It's nice. It's a nice touch.
Yes,
And done well, done looking like it belongs.
yes, and going back to the whole press release thing, have a feeling they had it differently, like planned out to where they would have a press release. But I think because they're like, oh, this is a movie, we want to get to the point A, B, and C. They're like, we're just gonna do it here, and they probably
Yeah.
just kind of went with what they got.
I did hear that this was the most reviewed movie, like a pre-screened movie, where they had a lot of people constantly. I mean, it could be that they were just trying to show off the movie, but it's likely that they were taking people's notes and going back and making changes, and it seemed to work out for them either way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of worried for this movie because I've seen the first Fantastic Four movie that Fox made. I saw maybe a bits and pieces of the second one. Didn't really care because I wasn't a fan of the first one. And then I saw the remake, which to me I didn't think it was as bad as everybody else said it was. But
Yeah,
it
the
still
end
was.
was rushed. That was the biggest
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. But
Yeah.
this one, this one was actually really good. So like, I don't know where I was going with this, but yes,
Yeah, it just there was a lot riding on this
yes,
because as fun and successful as the first two Fox ones were, they were very campy, and they did not really fit in the MCU's tone and general setup. And while certain things in this movie were designed to be campy, um, they were designed to be campy, so they were very much workable within its
yeah,
universe. And yeah, no, there was a lot that really worked with it, and I'm glad it worked because it could have gone the opposite direction. But it seems like they did do some kind of paint by the numbers, like Herbie, the little robot. As soon as I saw him, I was like Star Wars vibes.
yep,
He
exactly.
kind of
R2D2.
yeah, R2D2, BB-8, like, he's got personality. He's a cute little sidekick robot who still has practicality. He, does a lot of the things that, kind of they need on the side.
Yeah,
When they land on Galactus's ship, they immediately, Herbie goes collect samples. Towards the end, when they watch the baby while they're trying to fight off Galactus, and even the nice little touch is, even though he's kind of like playing with the baby, remember Galactus
yeah,
pops up behind him. As soon as Galactus tears apart the wall, and he turns around, he even puts his arm out as if to protect the baby with his
yeah,
tiny little robot arm. There's just personality behind it too, and that is a very Star Wars thing.
yeah. And it was funny too, like oh, she goes and sees the Herbie making the crib, and she's like, he's
Yeah,
not supposed to be doing this. Freaking, come on,
yeah,
typical man thing.
and then there's the cool little things that he does, like when they replace his little cassette in his face
Yeah,
from Earth to space.
yeah,
Like, it's the cool little things. Like, he's a bit of comic relief, but he's also a central character.
yeah. He is
He's
the fifth
necessary.
member.
Yeah, Exactly. So yeah, no, I enjoy. There's a lot of little things that you can enjoy throughout this movie. That everything has its place.
Yeah.
And if they do that going forward, instead of just making a ton of movies, releasing them each year, maybe put some time and thought into it. People will enjoy it more.
I mean, I honestly got Captain America First Avenger vibes from this, mainly because it was like kind of like the same
A
deal,
time thing,
a
yeah,
timepiece, but it works so well. It
yeah,
really did, and I know we're kind of like circling around here, but next we'll go into the pre-planning for the coming of Galactus.
yeah,
They have the
yeah,
press conference. You know, half the world, as we know, is pretty much up in arms. Like, yo, like they had a chance to save us, and they decided not to. What's going on? They have people outside, their tower
yeah,
and
rioting or protesting, and
protesting.
yeah, and I don't know why they didn't just immediately think, oh well, then you know Mr. Fantastic has a plan. He clearly has to have a plan. They didn't even assume that, even though he's always protected them, always had a
Yeah,
plan, always had some idea of what to do next. So, yeah, it goes to show that they also don't 100% trust the Fantastic Four.
of
Uh,
course.
so, and I don't know why Mr. Fantastic didn't just come out and say, "Hey, I got a plan," whether he did or not. Because as smart as he is, he also knows that you have to calm the public.
Yeah, he probably also didn't want people to keep drilling him for what's the plan, and then being took as a liar because he wouldn't tell him the plan right up. And they would probably ask him, "Why don't you just tell us if you really have a plan?"
Yeah.
So he probably thought about that because, as we know from the movie, even from when Stu has the conversation with him about he has,
Well, I mean,
he's
even
just
when
saying
they
the opposite.
do, yeah, even when they do come up with the plan and they set everything up, I don't. They still have the people outside their home protesting. So even while they have the entire world get together, share resources, they start building all these teleporters around the Earth so they can combine them all, teleport the entire Earth off somewhere else. They didn't even know where it was going to go. And I thought one of the big problems with that idea was that when he tested with the egg, it went from one location with a device to another location with
With
a
a
device.
device.
So that was my first thing. I was like, doesn't it need to be a device on the other end to bring you through? Like, is that not a part of the plan?
Well,
Like,
I think it was because of the fact that the planet itself had the devices on it itself, and you're moving the whole planet as a whole rather
yeah, I
than
thought
you.
maybe there was a possibility he just changed the devices themselves while they were building. Like that's what he was working out, was how to just get it somewhere else without, but they just never touched on it.
Yeah,
They never
which
really gave us too much information on
which
how they was going to do it.
I didn't think about that, but after saying what I just said, it makes sense. That's the planet itself was being moved, hence why it was making that giant sphere around it, and it was going to teleport it from here to there, and everything's still it's encased in that energy field, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
But yep, as soon as they finally start up the whole process, just before the final one starts, we have Shalabal destroying them one by one. I
yep.
do like how the very last one she goes to is the one where they are. Like, did she know they were there specifically and saved it for last in case there was resistance? Or was it just coincidence that they ended up in New York last?
More than likely coincidence.
Yeah.
Even though she knew they were there. Well, in New York, because that's where she first saw them at Times
Yeah,
Square.
it's possible, but how well does she know our geography?
That's true. But I mean, like, yes. So she comes down, she starts destroying the stuff, and then Johnny, takes his gambit out, and basically because we find out beforehand that he talks to his sister, and basically I figured it out. I got her smoking gun kind of thing that could probably
Yeah.
help us. and he
So
was
during that time, for people who don't know or haven't seen the movie, he was combining all the information he had, like the recordings from his helmet when he had spoke with her, and just from one small translation that she gave him during their last meeting, he broke down her entire language and was able to find transmissions from other planets until he even found her original planet and was able to play back her stuff and knew what they meant, knew what these transmissions meant, what they were saying. Some people begging for mercy versus some people calling out for her to come back.
yeah.
And that's what triggers the humanity, if you will, in her. That's like the first step for her arc.
First steps.
Yep, first steps. There's a lot of first steps in this movie.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of what triggers what ends up being her final sacrifice of the movie. But yes, she obviously is stopped enough to not destroy the one they are at currently, the teleportation device, which is where Reed Richards comes up with the plan to draw Galactus onto the planet, onto the platform, and teleport him elsewhere.
Now that is where I can say I agree with you, because now doesn't he need another one somewhere else to teleport him?
Yeah, exactly. Unless that's what he was working on, was teleportation without a device elsewhere. Or maybe he just doesn't care. At that point, it's like, yeah, either he ends up somewhere else or he ends up somewhere else in a billion pieces. Who knows? It was the Earth I was more concerned about. When you're doing it to Galactus, it's like, well, maybe we're solving everyone's issues here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as that is concerned, when they do draw Galactus in, they are using the baby as bait, and they try to do the old switcheroo. Galactus does not fall for it. The baby was on the platform. They distract him by blinding him, and then remove the baby, switch it out. But Galactus, right before he even gets there, is like, that's not the baby. What, am I stupid? No, it's over there in your tower. Come on.
He's like, nice try, guys.
Yeah, and he just turns around, walks the other way, which, you need suspense. You need the movie to build and build. But yeah, I didn't know why they didn't account for that. He was going based off of some kind of heat signature or something to see, humans in general, because he could just see them in white, but it was just, human shaped, because even when you looked for the baby, you saw Herbie's silhouette there, but it wasn't as bright. So, but clearly it wasn't based on, like, it wasn't a sensor of cosmos. He saw all people. So I'm assuming it was heat signature, just based on that. They could have just, I don't know, had a bunch of them everywhere, bunch of babies in different buildings, so that.
That's true. Well, then again, you're endangering other people's babies.
I guess, but you could also, I don't know, he's Reed Richards, I don't know, clone a bunch of, I don't know, slime babies or something. I don't know, something. I'm sure he's smart enough to come up with some biological way to have some shape of a baby, but not it be a real baby,
Yeah. Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah, there you go. That's one way to get rid of them.
But the one thing that I thought was cool about that battle is because earlier in the film we see, he basically has I can't remember the actual name for it, because they do make them in real life, like these machines that dig holes and make tunnels. That's essentially what he rides in, that eats the planet.
Yeah.
And well, I guess some backstory. Galactus would eat, planets, and basically at a certain point, I would think he basically regurgitates like the universe. When that universe ends, everything that he's swallowed is now put back out, kind of thing. And he would eat planets specifically, from what I can remember, that had eternal, or not eternals, help me out here.
Celestials.
Celestials in it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one reason why he would go to Earth in a way. But
Yeah, I that's kind of what I'm wondering about him, at least in this iteration, is is he someone who is given this eternal hunger by Celestials? Is this why he's doing this? Because
possibly,
obviously he is on the level of Celestials as far as
yes.
power, size, so on and so forth, but he is not one himself. And so it begs the question, what are Celestials? Because they've kind of already abandoned that storyline after the Eternals movie flopped.
Even though we still kind of got the husk of one in Captain America.
Yep, and of course we have the head that is nowhere.
Yep.
In so they exist. We know that they exist, but we know little to nothing about them at this point. And all we know is that based on what he is talking about, is that this child that was born is going to be more powerful than them. So, that obviously, like, how does he know this? Like, yeah, he can sense some kind of energy, but how does he know it will not cap? How does he know, this, that, and the other? Why did he need the baby right there and then? Why couldn't he have made a deal? Hey, you raise the child, bring it back to me when it becomes a peak, and then have him kill me.
Yeah, because didn't they kind of have that conversation with Ball? Like, oh, he would make the decision himself. Basically, is what she said. I think.
Yeah. So, like, even though they initially went to speak to Galactus, to feel him out, obviously, because they didn't know who he was upon arrival, but also to be somewhat diplomatic. Why didn't they just further the diplomacy? Why didn't they just, I don't know, think?
Think, Mark. Think.
Yep. So that was kind of just one of those things that kind of pop up that in the back of my mind while I'm watching it, going, there are. I mean, for the world's smartest person being right there, obviously he's more technologically and biologically smart than he is socially. That's what Sue Storm was all about. That's why she was the diplomat, literally, in the movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't really get, like, yes, there was that strong sense of motherhood and becoming a mother, doing whatever you needed to do to protect the child.
Well, it's actually funny that you say that, because that also parallels with Ball.
Yes, exactly. They were essentially the same person. If Sue was given the opportunity to replace Ball, she would say yes.
Yeah. So I thought that was that. Like, I didn't think of that until right now.
Yeah. Which, again, the thing with Ball, though, which makes her sacrifice kind of make sense too, is like she did what she needed to do. She protected her planet. At this point, I mean, we don't even know how many eons, centuries, whatever, have gone by of her doing this. Her planet could have long since, moved on.
Yeah, and died off or whatever.
Exactly. Every planet has a time limit. So, with that being said, now's I guess the good time to turn on the creator of her process. So I mean, let's get into it. Obviously, that final battle, they were trying to teleport him. It did not work. He merely walked away. And they kept trying. You had Ben punching, or the Thing. It's clobbering time. Try to beat him in, and that was not working.
Johnny using his fire.
Johnny was using his fire. And Mr. Fantastic trying to hold him back obviously did not work at all.
Actually, that was the thing. That was the point I was trying to get to. Is when we first see Galactus, we see how he eats planets, but we don't necessarily understand, like, where's he getting the nourishment, where's this going. But when we see him on the ship, we see these tubes connected to him.
Yeah.
And that's how he's being fed, like, through a tube, a feeding tube, 5 of them, I think. And then towards
Which
the
is
end,
ironic, isn't it? Because he being inside this big circular ship in the center, being fed with tubes. It's almost like a baby.
Yeah, he's on life support
Yeah,
too.
it's almost like he has yet to be born. He is on the umbilical cord.
Yeah,
There's a lot of references to childbirth and stuff like that, and
but
motherhood.
and going into that with the battle, we see that, what kind of knowledge Mr. Fantastic has. He sees the openings on his back and starts opening them, and you see like
Yeah,
lava or magma or whatever from the planet pouring out of him a little bit. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like, that is a weak spot for him. If you try and open those, all his energy, I guess, would pour
yeah. I
out.
don't know why they, after seeing that it was successful, try again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, wait, why aren't they doing
Yeah,
that?
he grabbed Mr. Fantastic, stretched him out to an unbelievable amount where his shirt all of his clothes start to tear, and clearly he's reaching his limit, which honestly kind of blew my mind because we've seen him stretch longer than that before.
Yeah.
But okay, for the sake of the moment, let's just take it for what it is.
Well, and the thing is, too, from what I heard, technically, Mr. Fantastic is essentially, as far as expanding and stuff like that, he's immortal. Like, you could, like, when
yeah,
Black Widow, help me out here, Scarlet Witch, like, turned the other John Krasinski's into like
spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
He's technically still alive when he's in that form. He's just an eternal pain.
Yeah, he can never connect the spaghetti.
Yeah, so technically,
that's the problem.
Like, I could be wrong, but I think that's true. He's still alive, essentially. But yeah, Reed Richards, he can stretch.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's not a stretch to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. But yeah, so then we have Sue come in. Now this is where it really pushed it beyond for me, though, was like Sue was able to just take him on by herself. Push him all the way back by herself using her power. And it's not really how her power is used. There's the argument of, a mother protecting her child, giving her extra strength or whatever the case may be. But and I can buy that for the scene, but then it killed her is what doesn't make any sense. Is that she died of using her power too much. Like, if her power actually had real repercussions, we would have seen, like, even if they put a hint towards, oh, don't overdo it because whatever, that there was never any of that. It was just she used her power too much, succeeded, set him into the teleporter, held him there long enough for Shalabal to push him all the way through, voiding out Human Torch's own sacrifice, and they were able to close it out, and that was that. And then she just falls over dead. Convenient timing.
Well, I will say, to that, they didn't give an explanation for that, but she was in a very bad car accident right before that, so she could have had internal bleeding, and that could have been why she died. But, it just wasn't explained, and she was just using every ounce of whatever she had left to just try and save the planet.
It was just, the plot.
Yeah.
Oh, we need her to die right here. How?
Exactly.
She used her power too much. All right, she's dead. All right, now she's dead. We'll have a quick cry, and then the baby brings her back with his magic powers.
Which I already kind of figured that was going to happen.
Yeah, well, we all knew. First of all, Reed Richards, bad dad. Bad dad.
Bad dad.
Never put your crying baby on your dead wife. That's just bad dad behavior.
I think he was just trying to be like, this is the only moment you're ever going to have with your mom, even though she's dead.
Yeah, that's, again, bad dad.
Yeah. Or maybe he was just, using...
Do your magic, please.
Yes, please save your son.
I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so baby crawls on, eyes glow. Nope. Mommy's back. Here we go. So now my question is, from that point on, anytime someone died, did they come up like, look,
we got baby
mommy
back.
There. Can you bring my mommy back? Yeah, this obviously is going to bring a lot more flaws too.
Yeah.
Because you can't say that the baby brought her back because it had that connection, that emotional feeling. Because the baby was a baby.
Yeah.
Babies do not understand like that, and there was no indication that the baby understood anything or had any. I mean, yeah, there's emotional connections to every child, but it's extremely limited.
Yeah.
Um, that's why babies do not remember things that happened to them when they're really young, unless it's extremely traumatic. But watching your mother die like that, it was not in a traumatic way for him. He only just saw her laying there.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been traumatic. There was nothing to really draw from that. Not that I'm saying they should have made it traumatic in front of the child, because, this is still Disney. But yeah, it just, it was a bit of a stretch. Like, if the baby could do it for her, then the baby could do it for anyone, which
Yeah.
now draws in more problems in their future. But yeah, so that more or less ends the movie. That was the climax.
Now that we're getting to here, I want to talk about one elephant in the room. Or not in the room. Every Fantastic Four story has always had somebody else involved in it who we did not see. We didn't see anything in the montage when the Fantastic Four went out into space. But we all know there's that fifth, scientist,
Yeah.
fifth member that went with him, Dr. Doom. Nowhere to be found in the main movie. Now, was that intentional? Did he not exist in this universe?
Look,
or was
everyone already knows what you're hinting
Yeah.
at, because everyone already speculated before the movie came out.
But here's the question, though. But that's the question, though. Like, did he ever really go with him, and they erased his character from like those?
Yeah,
the
so they
montage we saw
did
at the beginning.
Yeah, they did show during the meeting of their version of like the UN, the World Congress or whatever it was, towards the beginning of the movie, that his country was labeled, but the seat was empty.
Yes. What was it? Latveria or
Latveria, something like that. I forget.
No, I'm thinking of Latvia. Latveria. I think it's
something
Latveria.
like that.
Oh, I'm bad. I'm a bad MCU fan, guys.
Yeah. You and me both. I forget what it's called too. But yes, the home country of Doctor Doom chose not to be a part of the.
Yeah, I was right. It's
coming
Latveria.
together.
I had to look it up.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. But it does not mean it lacked an appearance, because yes, the end credit scenes, there were two of them, one better than the other.
I'm gonna be honest.
4 years later.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch the second one because you told me not to.
Yeah, yeah, and I will discuss why.
Yes.
But yes, it is labeled 4 years later. Franklin is a 4-year-old at that point, and they're reading books. Sue Storm and Franklin are sitting on the couch in their tower, just reading some books. And while she goes off to get another book, she comes back to see a cloaked figure hunched down while the child is touching the said cloaked figure's face. And, as every parent would, had that moment where their heart skips a beat, and the camera zooms in on what is in the hooded figure's hand, which is the mask of Dr. Doom.
Dun dun
dun dun dun, for sure. And yeah, no, we were all waiting for it. We were expecting it, and since it didn't happen in the main movie, that's why I stuck around for the end credit scenes. The second end credit scene was just mere homage to the history of the Fantastic Four, and was just their little cartoon opening, showing the characters all dance around to the friggin' music. It really wasn't anything spectacular. Was not worth waiting through the entire credits.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's something you
Namaste.
can just Google and find on YouTube or something. And if you really have to see it, there's nothing that affects the MCU.
Okay.
But that being said, the movie itself, there was a lot to say about it. It definitely is a step in the better direction than it had been going. Definitely more eventful and enjoyable than the Brave New World.
Yes.
Uh, while I still enjoyed Brave New World to an extent better than
Same
most
here.
people, it was lacking. Didn't have a clear sense of direction, and the villains were lackluster, to say the
Mhm.
least. Kind of just threw in. Whereas here, the villains were fleshed out. They didn't even feel like villains. They just felt like a force that had a different objective.
Correct.
And that's what I like about it. I liked that there was a constant fear for the child. As again, as a parent, I know that fear. I understand their motives. Um, and yeah, again, I feel like Ben Grimm is the only one that really didn't have a true moment to shine.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
got that all clobbering time thing, but that was really
it was a joke.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
it's not real like not a real character scene, I
yeah,
guess you
he
could
didn't
say.
have too much development. Yes, they gave
Yeah.
him the slight depression that he always has of his appearance. But again, it's been 4 years since he's been like that. At that point, he was more, accustomed to his situation. And he did have the beard change, and he
Yeah.
felt more confident after that. You could
Yeah.
tell. Johnny Storm was like, "Hey, that looks good on you. Keep it,"
Yeah.
and he did. And it was kind of a confidence boost for him. It was nice to see him a little more pepped up after
Yeah.
that. And yeah, they were trying to kind of hint at a relationship between him and Natasha Lyonne's character,
Yeah.
but it felt more hinted than was something that would. It might not even ever. We may never see her again because of how little they used her. It would be easy for them to remove her and it not make a difference.
Yeah, because, the next time we see them, I think is gonna be in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, that seems to be what most people are talking about. There was no direct connection to the MCU as it is Earth
Yeah.
616. So my guess is one of a couple of things.
Okay.
Either they sent Galactus to the universe of 616,
Who's they?
the Fantastic Four, when they teleported him.
Oh, okay.
They sent him to the 616 universe where, we will likely see him maybe first in
Yeah.
the upcoming movies as opposed to the Fantastic Four, which does beg the question, how the heck was their ship seen in the end of our new Avengers, the Thunderbolts?
Yeah.
What is the timeline here? Obviously, the timeline doesn't really matter. It could have happened already or whatever. Maybe they have already entered the 616. Also, we want to know, hey, is there a real connection to the TVA?
Yeah.
Is this where we're going to see Pedro Pascal start popping up through, some form of TVA-related incidents? So that if he is before Doomsday, then it's likely going to be some form of cameo.
Well, you just put a couple things together right there. You saying that like Galactus went to the 616 or whatever. Maybe what we saw is a precursor to his teleporter, the whole black hole thing that they were putting Galactus through, and he's
Yeah,
gonna maybe in his timeline he maybe that's what happens at maybe the movie starts and then Doctor Doom takes Franklin, disappears somewhere else, uses that big machine to disappear wherever Galactus went, which might be the 616, and then he creates the doorway, which and sent in a sense creates the TVA and stuff like that, and maybe he creates the TVA just because of Doctor Doom stealing his son.
that is quite possible. But the thing is going to the TVA, is he going to be showing up before um, the Loki situation? Because again, time doesn't really occur, but then there are a sequence of events in the TVA. Where is he going to initially appear?
Yeah.
Maybe it is in the 60s. What 616 and 60s would be. Maybe he gets to experience a whole lot more before the incidents that we are privy to through the Loki series
Yeah.
and Deadpool.
Hmm.
So there's a lot to see here. We are obviously going to be seeing the X-Men soon too. Um, so there's likely going to be just a whole lot more other movies before we even get any answers.
Well, from
Uh,
what I understand, there's only going to be a few movies before Doctor
and TV
Doomsday
shows though,
or
yeah,
Avengers. Yeah, but we're gonna get TV show wise. We just had
Ironheart,
Ironheart. I think the next one we're gonna get is the Punisher special, I believe,
yes,
and then
which
we're
I
gonna
am definitely looking
yes,
forward to.
and then I think we're gonna get the Daredevil season 2 after that, and then the next movie I believe is going to be Spider-Man, and then Avengers Doomsday. Even though it's supposed to be swapped, it was supposed to be Avengers Doomsday then Spider-Man, but sorry, they swapped them, I believe. So
So I
uh
would assume there's been some changes. Then there would have to be some kind of developmental changes.
yeah, so I don't know. I don't really what we have going on here. Oh, and then we got the Vision Quest show,
Yeah,
but I don't know when that comes out either. But the Doomsday movie is gonna have to. I believe the Doomsday movie is gonna serve as two things: one, the follow up to the Fantastic Four movie, and tying into the rest of the MCU. That's what it has to be. Which then we'll get a couple movies, like 2 or 3 movies, I'm guessing, and then we go into Secret Wars.
yeah, yeah.
Which what Secret Wars could really be about? It could be about the retrieval of Franklin Richards.
Yeah. No, it could be for sure.
Ooh, now we because we got a future think here. Maybe Franklin Richards is the crux that resets the MCU.
Yeah, I believe he kind of has to be.
Yeah, so that's probably
Um,
what this is gonna be about.
However, despite the multiverse being closed off in the comic book series, he is part of the reason why it gets reset.
Yeah,
The multiverse is returning. So, yeah, there's a lot that they could do. Obviously, what the comics are and what the MCU is very different things. What they choose to do and what they choose to ignore, it's solely down to them on a whim. Clearly on the whim, because they can change entire movies right before their release.
yeah.
So, will John Malkovich ever return? Who knows?
And Avengers Doomsday, he will probably not return.
Yeah. So yeah, that I think that kind of wraps it up. Unless you have
Yeah.
any more, theories.
Um, I think I pretty much said my theory there. Now that we're getting to the end of this here, now we can state our final reviews on this. You started first last time, I'll start. Now that I've had time to sit on it, talk about it, I give it a 7. The
Yeah,
movie definitely wasn't as good as Superman, but it definitely wasn't as bad as um, Captain America. I mean, as much as I want to give it like a 7.5, we don't do 0.5s here on the show. So I'm just giving it a solid 7. Uh, Based off of other Fantastic Four movies I've seen, this is the best, but it's not like Avengers 1 level, type of movie,
yeah,
as far as greatness.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah. And
and
and,
now,
and while I started off with 8, I think that 8 was from a lot of raw emotion after seeing it initially. And after kind of breaking down a lot more of their flaws and plot holes, I am also going to give it a 7.
all right, yeah, I mean, 7 is not bad. It is a good movie, and I think it is actually because it's in the name. It's a good family movie. It really is. And I felt like I kind of said it before when I was talking to you about how I felt the Thunderbolts kind of felt more like the comic book a little bit more, because the comic books would take, a lot of real life issues and inject them into there. Like that movie kind of dealt with everybody's kind of, you know, I guess you could say darkness in their head and stuff like that, and
Right.
trying to get by as being a human and dealing with every human problem and negativity and how it lives in your brain. And this is kind of like doing the same thing. Like, how does a family function with superpowers? Like, not necessarily that's a real life issue, but when a parent is put at adversities involving their child, like,
Yeah.
how do they kind of overcome them? And that's a real life thing for people. Like, not
Exactly.
myself, but you can attest to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It is again a human thing.
Yeah.
We it's life imitating art, imitating life, going over in a big cycle. But the thing that combines it all is the human
Element.
condition, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's something that is always going to draw people because we can connect to it. And it goes to show also that you don't have to have experienced certain things to not connect to them.
Of course.
So, yeah, with that being said, I think that wraps up our review.
Yes.
Uh, I think it's a solid movie. It was a fantastic cast. The aesthetic was amazing. I love the attention to detail. I swear to God, you have probably more of the crew, the behind the scenes, having so much more fun than even the writers and the cast. It feels like these are fans that read the comic books, watch all the movies, and like, let's play with these things. Let's insert this. Let's have that there. Let's design this way. And it really builds for a great, universe, multiverse, everything.
Yeah.
It really pulls it all together.
And I do
They
want to
are the
say,
world builders.
that I had no problem with any of the actors in the cast. I think they all stepped up. They all did a great job. There
Even
was no,
Moleman?
even Mole Man, even though it was weird seeing him not doing Cobra Kai stuff. But
Yep.
overall, like, I thought every actor was on point. Everybody did their job well. I didn't dislike anybody in the
Yeah.
film. I didn't be like, oh, this person was horrible at acting, or I just didn't get this person. No, everybody did great. Which,
Except for John Malkovich.
except for John Malkovich. We don't know why John Malkovich was taken out of this movie, but he was the Red Ghost, I believe, and they had, I think, one of his henchmen in the beginning montage or whatever, from what I can remember. But we want the Malkovich cut.
Yeah. Let's start it. Hashtag Malkovich cut.
Yeah. Malkovich cut. We need it. We need it, folks. But now that we got that out of our system, we're gonna
excited for what comes?
I mean, are you?
I am. I'd like to see where this goes. I'd like to see where Galactus went.
I mean, that's another thing. We might not ever find out about that.
But dude, there's always possible. Look, we just had a movie release with what happened to the villains of the second MCU movie, the Hulk.
And I was like, yeah, wait, what was that? Oh yeah, that one. Yeah,
the
you're
Hulk
right.
all the way to Brave New World. So if we don't see him for the next 6 phases, don't be surprised.
They always come back. Hugh Jackman said he was done with Wolverine. Well, you guess what? Marvel said, no, you're not. Here's a paycheck. And he said, all right, I'll do a few more for you.
Ralph Ineson could be like 82 on his deathbed or something, and they'd be like, hey, Galactus is finally coming back. You want to jump in? He'd be like, yeah, why not?
Why not? But I just want to die. But, yeah, this was a good movie. Thank you for everybody who's listening to us in our first ever PlotCast here. We're going to be doing more of these. Hopefully, very frequently. No promises, but we'll see how it goes. Uh, if you haven't heard of us, though, we are a part of a bigger universe ourselves. We're Plot Hole Productions. You can find us on Instagram
And
and
on YouTube,
on
we have a
YouTube.
lot of content you can
Yes,
sift through,
yeah, we
enjoy.
got Pokemon, pack openings. We got CGC unboxings. We got other movie reviews, and a couple other disjointed
Knick-knack, bits and
knick-knack
pieces.
paddywhacks, bits and pieces up there for you guys to enjoy. Um, yeah. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think it's time for our closing.
All right. Well, if you guys are new to us as a team, usually we finish whatever we're doing with a simple phrase. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandberg.
We'll catch you
In
in
the
the
void.
void.